Welcome to
To block.
Triple Blockheads,
Back set. Block down.
the podcast for all things volleyball.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of Triple Blockheads. We're back in the studio, fellas. We have Makani here, Mark, Frank, and we're going to talk about the recruiting process. This is probably one of the biggest topics, I think, that when we're out either at club tournaments or just rolling around and talking to peers, it's one of the topics that I think continues to come up is when are you guys dropping a podcast on the recruiting process? So I think time is right now when this comes out to the general public and then specifically in the club world. Recruiting is hot right now. So we'll talk first about just overall timeline, what to expect, what the rules are, and I think who better to start with than Mr. Mark Neve. Why don't you just kind of lay the foundation for the blockheads out there?
Absolutely. The first thing I'll say is the recruiting process is different for everybody at different levels. The timelines are a little bit different, but overall, things I want to cover right away: when you should start exploring schools, who should I reach out to when I do explore schools, and then maybe some important dates in the recruiting process that I need to be aware of as I'm going through this. Okay, so first, when do I start when do I start emailing schools to reach out? Okay, I've said it before, but for 95% of athletes, you are completely responsible for your recruiting. So the more proactive you are reaching out to schools, the better your opportunity options are likely to be. That's not always the case, but for the most part, that's a thing. Knowing that, when do I start? So if you want to think about it, as you get into high school, right, your freshman year, I'm probably starting to determine on whether I'm going to be serious about volleyball, right? If I want to be a high D1 type of player, or I think my coaches are telling me this is like what could be in the future for me, we want to start thinking about sending out some feeler emails. Okay, so I get a ton of emails right now that would be 2028s, right, freshmen right now. When I'm going to club tournaments, I'm watching 15s, and most Power 4, high-level D1s are going to be watching 15s earlier, even when they're working on the class that they're on right now, which would be 2027 or that 16s age group. Okay, so freshman year, let's start putting some feelers out. Just sending it to, I think casting a wide net right away is super important, especially before you've done your research to know what it is that you're looking for. So freshman year, send them out. But I like to think of this whole process as a puzzle, right? And there's all these pieces, distance from home type of environment, right? Athletic prowess, I guess, right? All these different important puzzle pieces that all have to fit together to find that right fit for you, right? That puzzle needs to be complete. I don't think you know what that is right away, or what you like, don't like, what you think you like might actually not be what you want in that situation once you experience it. So from that process, let's cast a super wide net. Let's explore. Maybe I reach out to some high academic schools, some super high populous schools, 50, 60,000 students. Maybe I will reach out to some 2,000. Just give yourself exposure to a lot of different environments to help guide you more educated in the future down your path. Okay, if you're not going high D1, you're going to have a longer time before you need to make that decision, so you can really kind of fine tune that search as you go. But being proactive and doing that research and finding out what it is you like and need, that's really, really important. Okay, important dates to be aware of, and the biggest one is June 15th. I think most club players have heard this: June 15th, June 15th, June 15th. That is after your sophomore year, going into your junior year. June 15th is the date that colleges can contact you. Okay, there's a big hubbub and to-do about June 15th. It's midnight at June 15th. There are teams out there that will call and email at midnight. We do not do that. I do not do that. I don't believe in that. Kids need to be kids. They don't need to be responding to stuff at midnight. So if you get that, maybe ignore it. I know it's exciting night of to be like, ooh, I wonder who emailed me. But like, get your 8 hours. The next few days are about to be wild for you. So
You're not losing a spot at 12:05.
yeah. Nobody's committing right then, and if they are, shenanigans. I'm gonna say.
How long has June 15th been a thing? Wasn't it? Because it used to just be like kind of like open, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact period when that switched, and I don't want to misdate, but for at least my last 2 schools, June 15th has been the date to start that communication.
Before you'd see like kids committing at 8th grade, 7th grade.
Yeah.
7th, 8th grade, which I don't think a kid knows what they want at 8th grade because they don't know who they are yet.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that we've pushed back this process to try and let them mature and grow a little bit. My issues overall with the process are they still are forced into a really fast timeline to make that decision.
Yeah.
Okay? When we can communicate to them and they can commit, that's June 15th. They can't visit a campus until August 1st. So
they might be committing.
right,
Before
they're going to
they
commit
visit.
before they can get to either a camp or get on campus. It's just the timeline is so forced. Like most kids are going to decide, and I think part of that is pushed by their peers. Like they see on social media, so and so committed on June 15th. They're like, "Well, I got to commit."
Yeah.
And now we're a week in, and they're like, "I got to make a decision." It's like, well, you've been talking to 10 schools for the last 5 days. Like, can we just take a beat? But on the other side of it, as a recruiter and someone running a high-level program, like, I like you. Do you like us? Let's do it, right? I know what I'm bringing to the table is a quality service, and that's where I gotta make sure that you trust that we're gonna take care of you in that short amount of time. But that's a whole other little subtopic. But around those dates, then it becomes, when do I decide, right? When am I going to make my commitment? And I think that's where you'll really find the timeline variance, depending on what level you're trying to go. Okay. As I just mentioned, those top kids, they're going to be deciding in June. Generally, after June 15th, they're going to be making that choice. They're going to get pressure from programs. There'll be situations where they get offered a spot that's also offered to a couple other people. That's just the nature of the business right now and how it works. So the more research you can do ahead of time leading into that, being that high-level athlete, that makes a big difference when you get to that point where you need to make a decision. Okay. As you kind of trickle down, right? So nothing forces you to make a decision right away. If I'm still an elite athlete, I'm going to go high D1 and I want to wait until I take my college visits, that's fine. But there are probably programs that will move on from you before you're ready to decide. Okay. Not a bad thing. The ones that really love, care, want you, they're going to stay involved. But if you're one of 3 and you're going to wait till August and the other 2 aren't, somebody is probably going to just offer to those other 2 kids. Okay. As we continue down and maybe the mid-majors or lower level D1s, that timeline gets a little bit later. Now we're looking at maybe the fall. A lot of kids will want to commit by the fall or by December, where they've taken some visits, gone to some camps, know a little bit more. As you go D2, D3, NAIA, those are looking more going into senior year, maybe later in your junior year, but they're less like, let's get them before that junior year starts. So you're looking at maybe the year of. So if you're 2027, you might commit late in 26 or maybe early in 27 for that fall of your senior year. Mm-hmm. And that's fine, right? All of these processes are fine. I think it's important to know kind of what to expect as we're going through this timeline, because it can be overwhelming when you get into it. Like when June 15th hits, it's a lot for those kids. Or it's not a lot, and now I'm concerned because it wasn't a lot for me. You know what I mean? Everybody's process is different, and that's fine. And just trust and do your research and keep plugging away and doing the things you need to do, reaching out to coaches, sending emails, updating video. It will work out. Mm-hmm. There is a spot for anybody who wants to play college volleyball. You have to find it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting is the preparatory work, I think, is what's kind of missing from the layman understanding of the recruiting process. Because sometimes it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to get recruited. I'm going to sit here and wait till I get recruited. But to your point, I need to be proactive. It's really my job to be casting the net, And then two, I think the research and understanding of the different information that you need to know about yourself.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think anyone's asking you to make a decision. However, it can't be, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
There needs to be some level of direction, right? And I know in club, you guys help that a lot. You also have other resources, other kids that have just gone to programs or that are seniors that just went through the process. Talk a little bit about how, come up with key decisions, right? Do I want to play collegiate volleyball? At what level do I want to play? And then I think the other thing is, how are those trusted advisors giving them some advice on what level can I play?
Yeah, I think first things first, dude. We are merched out. We look so sick right now. For those who are watching on the YouTube, no, I thought the most critical thing that Mark said that resonated with me was the players driving the process. So I think clubs have some responsibility in how they set up everything that they do involving the player to make sure that there's some opportunities for player-driven, aspects of the club, whether it's how the player deals with role clarity in their team or how they report their conflicts or like how can you in the club create opportunities for the player to have to be responsible for their process in the club so that when it comes down and we start talking about recruiting with kids, it's not this like foreign subject that that now you're removed parents only in this recruiting process. It's like, no, we've been hopefully doing this for a little bit on the club side too. So I thought that was, of all the things that Mark said, that all of it's gold. But like on the club side, like how can you help the kid within the club to have some responsibility about anything? Could be a variety of things, but creating just player-driven ecosystems in the club, I think, are just translates a little bit easier when you do start talking about recruiting.
Those are life skills. Too,
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean, like that's a great skill to develop at an early age. Is this independent, free thinking? You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to have to put in to get what I want out of this?
I think that's something that we struggle with club volleyballs around the country is players going to a club and them wanting the club to do all of it for them, and that there's, I think, a misconception there. And then they start, talking to colleges, and the colleges don't really want the club that involved if they can already start talking to the kid.
Yep.
So, like, I think that's just something that we battle is, you're not just coming to our club because we've had previous graduating classes of kids that have all gone to play in college. Like, that shouldn't be the main reason. The main reason is hopefully you're coming here because we're going to make you responsible for your process and within all the things of club volleyball, and that's going to be the same thing that you have to do in recruiting.
And I think in that point is you're really trying to teach them to have some authenticity and understand what they want. And I think sometimes, we get into a situation where it's, oh, well, this is what I see, so that's what I want, instead of asking them probing questions, all right? Like you mentioned earlier, what type of size are you comfortable with? How far away from home do you want to go? Like, these are things that you may evolve over from your freshman through your senior year. But I think if you're asking it at June 15th on your junior year, you're asking yourself that, you're already putting yourself in a bind that you haven't had the preparatory conversations with yourself and your trusted circle on what you really want to do.
Yeah, and there's so many, all the things that they battle with recruiting, prospective student athletes is, I think there's so many parallels with their club decisions too, and that process, So hopefully, as clubs are working with families during their tryouts, you are talking with the player as well, because I think that can start a good habit for that kid who is going to use this club tryout, club team process and maybe translate some of that experience into their college, decision or process, and letting the player be part of that and not just letting the parents speak for what they want their kid to do in club. Let the player have a voice in it, because they're going to be the ones that have to lead it a couple years from now if they're, a young 15s or 14s during club.
I'm just curious, and before we move on to just kind of the next, more tactical part of the actual reach out and some components there. I want to hear your thoughts on that, Mark. But I'm curious on in club, when are those conversations around what level of athlete do I see you at playing at the next level? So first question, do you want to? Do you have the passion, the love for the game? If that's a yes, which many times it's a yes, hey, this is a high-level D1 athlete. There's athletically. They may not be polished at 13, 14, 15 years old, obviously. But, when are those conversations had? So you don't have the kid that really should be looking at the D3 NAIA level that emailing Mark, right? Like, and that happens.
Oh yeah, we still get those emails.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot of work for those club athletes that just narrow your scope a little bit. And I'm just curious on if those hard conversations are had.
Yeah, I think it's changed throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in the golden era of volleyball right now, where volleyball's you can find it anywhere.
Right.
It's on TV more. So I think if you ask anyone 14 you or younger in our club, they all want to play college volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They all want to play at Nebraska. They all want to play for these teams they see on TV
Mm-hmm.
or Iowa State.
Thank you for that. That was rude.
But they want.
It's fine.
We're all waiting for that.
Yeah,
Right.
I was.
But they all want to play, and then as you hit 15s as a club director and our recruiting support, we have to start identifying some of the kids who we know are going to have to be prepared probably for the June 15th date, and then some of the other kids that we know probably aren't going to be in that situation by the time they reach 16s. So we handle those a little bit differently if we see that might be a thing. But we're okay with the kid emailing out a Power 4 school if they're not there yet. I think, they're going to get, I think 80% of the responses you get back is probably the division that you should be playing in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is nobody's trying to shut dreams down,
Yes.
but at the same time, though, I think
It's a tricky place for
it
a club.
is because you want to make sure that you are endorsing their dream of wherever they want to go, whatever
sure.
level they want to play. But at the same time, you don't want them to feel discouraged on what that looks like. So it's a dicey weight
I
balance.
like to think of it as just like nudges. Like you're
Yeah.
looking for different ways to just kind of like give them a little bump in the direction of where you think they're going to be or where they're getting the attention, which that ultimately should be the data they need to see where you're going to be. It's like, well, I want to play D1, but I'm only getting D2 and D3 responses. Well, I'm probably going to play D2 or D3. Right. Unless I'm willing to walk on or do different situations. But
Right.
and be okay with that. Like as somebody that is coached at Division III and mid majors at Division I, and now I'm at a Power 4 school. All college volleyball is good volleyball. Like whether you're playing NAIA, D3, congrats on being a college athlete, and that's awesome. And go really enjoy your experience.
Absolutely.
As an athlete, as a student. This is such a unique athletic system that we've created in America. It does not exist in the rest of the world in this capacity. How fortunate for you to have the opportunity. So at whatever level, you're a stud, and great. Go be great.
And that's another episode. I'm just sure
right.
that is
We'll probably clip that one, though. That was pretty good.
yeah, that's really well said. So once we get, how do athletes encourage the programs to respond back or put them on their list? It really comes down to crafting effective messages and emails.
Yep.
Crafting and creating effective video. So let's dive there. What are some do's and don'ts? What are some of the things that you like?
Yeah. I will say, I think kids think they need to put a ton of effort and time into their emails and stuff. You don't, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like shorter is better. You are one of, let's say, 100 kids that email me today. If you have a full page email, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You know what I mean? Especially if it starts, hey, coach.
The cut and
right?
paste.
The
cut and paste?
generic
Yeah.
start to those emails, right?
Hey, yo.
I might read that one. They came out together like, hey, what's up? I'd be like, all right, let's see where this is going. But
Does Facebook still have like pokes? You can poke people?
I don't know.
Is that not?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Pick side, Frank.
You used to be able to poke people on Facebook and just showed up as a notification as you got poked. But there might be like an opportunity for us to have some sort of student athlete, college coach, like poke system. Like, hey, poke. I'm interested.
Go to their Instagram and be like,
Yeah. Anyways, highlight videos.
So the emails. Overall, shorter, specific. Get to your point, get done. Okay? I really think write it to the coach specifically, or coaches, whole staff. Don't say, hey, coaching staff, hi, coach, whatever. Put their names in it. That, to me, shows me you put the least amount of effort into making sure that you knew it was for me. Okay, so I appreciate that. Next, if there's any note, if you've been following a school, or I think it's important to throw in like a go Cyclones, or, you know what I mean, something specific to that program. Hey, saw you guys had X wins last season. Great job, whatever it is. But look for a personal touch, because that lets me know that this isn't a blanket thing. You're actually interested, and now I'm going to pay more attention than if it's just generic. I've been following the program, but then don't say anything about the program and just say generic volleyball things. Like, all right, but I won't be as interested to come and watch you unless it's like, hey, great job against so-and-so. I was at that match, or you know what I mean? I watched on ESPN, just whatever it is, but look for personal touches that can show the coach that you're putting in some effort. Okay. And then coaches will reciprocate that effort. Okay. Things to include if this is early in the club season, list your whole club schedule. That can be useful. I may not keep track of it, but I will have that email if I would need to come back and see you. And I'm like, oh, I wonder where she's going. I have an email that I can reference that has your full tournament, what tournaments you're going to go to. On the flip side, do not send us your daily tournament schedule like pool play. Like, I'm at Lone Star, and here's my pool schedule for day one. I don't need it. I have it, right? Our app that we use, University Athlete, has your guys' schedule. If you're using it as another touch point, cool. But if you say anything of value in that, it's not getting seen, because as soon as I see that you're listing your pool, I'm done reading that. Okay, because I have that information, and again, 100 emails that I don't need to see that information. Okay. The last thing, well, not last thing, but last component of building the email is you need links to a highlight video, right? That's what it's all about. Like, you can say what you're going to say, and I can form an opinion about you, but I want to watch you play immediately after. And especially if you've written a little personal note, you talk about Iowa State specifically. I love Ames, the environment, whatever it is. I want to watch the video now. Okay. So make sure that you have a link in whatever capacity that is, Huddle, YouTube, Sports Recruits, any of those things. Just put those links in. And then the other thing definitely to include is whoever your point of contacts are going to be, usually two of them, for your recruiting process, whether it's your club recruiting coordinator, your high school coach, your club coach specifically, and emails and cell phones. Like, everybody's busy. Most recruiting coordinators, this isn't their full-time job. So they're like, if I need to get a hold of somebody immediately and all I have is an email, I'm not in as control of that situation as I'd like to be, because then I would like to be able to text them. That's how most recruiting conversations happen, is text, set up a call, and that's it. There's not a ton of email correspondence between me and a lot of recruiting coordinators going back and forth. Okay. The one piece that is very underrated in crafting an email is your subject line. Okay. It can do a lot for you, but it still needs to be simple. Okay. Things to definitely include in your subject line: position, name, class, and anything that will glorify anything about you. So if you touch 10 foot, I'm putting that in the subject line. Right. If I have a 30-inch vert, put it in the subject line. If in high school season I was 5 kills a set, I'm putting it in the subject line. You know what I mean? Look for ways to give yourself some shine that's going to make them want to click that button right away. You know what I mean? So in a perfect situation for me, we have a 2027 middle touches 10-3, lists it all in the subject line. I'm like, ooh, 10-3, that's fun. I'm going to click on the email. It says, hi, Coach Neef. Ooh, good start right away. Called me by my name. Okay. I'm so-and-so. I'm a sophomore at blah, blah, blah. And I've been really paying attention to Iowa State volleyball. Love Cyclones. Cardinal and gold, my favorite color. Ames looks like an amazing town. I'm going to be at X tournaments. I would love for you to come check me out. Link to highlight video, contact for recruiting. Done. End of email. One paragraph. I now am excited to click this button. This kid has shown some specific interest in our program. She has some physical attributes that I think I might be interested in. I'm going to watch that video. Done. Great email by that kid in this hypothetical situation.
Duplicate that.
Yeah. Cut, paste. That's how to do it.
I was hoping for, hey, Mr. Blockhead Neef. I mean, that'd be like an all-timer if they were listening to your podcast too. If they somehow found that out about you.
I'd probably just offer him right then. Like, here you go.
Yo, Blockhead.
Here's a,
Yeah, right?
yeah.
That'd be wild. I'm here for it.
So,
yeah.
We have a crafted, brilliant email from a potential recruit that you are excited to click the link on. How does that link continue that excitement?
That's a great question. There's a couple things about video. One, Huddle is great. And if your club operates through Huddle and that's how you just get it and that's the easiest way to do it, cool. Just know I'm annoyed that I have to watch a 7 to 15 second ad before every one of your videos. And in Huddle, they're usually shorter form. It's like, watch all my kills from this match, watch my digs here. If I click through 3 or 4 of them and I have to watch a minute ads total, you better be good. But if we made it to the third video, you're probably pretty good. But I don't love it just from a time perspective. I'm a huge proponent of YouTube. Set up an account. You don't have to watch ads unless you get X amount of clicks or views, which if you're getting that much on your recruiting videos, you're doing something right and good for you. But that's just a personal preference there. When we're thinking about a video, you want to be conscious of the coach's time and show what you need to show. So I would say nothing longer than 2.5 minutes. If you're putting out a 5-minute video, there are very few coaches that are going to watch it to the end. I would also say front load that video with the most important skills for your position. Okay. If you're a hitter, do not start with serving. I don't want to watch you serve. That will make me stop watching. Okay. Start with hitting, and your first 3 swings better be bangers. You know what I mean? That is going to get me to watch from the probably 45 to a minute that I normally would to longer, right? If you come out the gate and you're like, whop, 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 I'm like, whoa, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep watching through this. So front load with the heavy stuff. Then if I was a pin, I'm going to put my big kills. I'm going to put some maybe pass to attack stuff, some multi-skill. Maybe I dig off block and transition, but looking for a little bit longer clips that show more volleyball move. You know what I mean? I think I get a lot of videos that are clipped at the start of the approach, clipped immediately after they hit the ball. It's like, well, that was cool, but it'd be nice to see 2 seconds before you started your approach. How did you flow out of serve receive? Where did you move from defensively? And then I want to see 2 or 3 seconds after you hit it, you got the kill, you didn't get the kill. How was your reset to base? If you did get the kill, what is your reaction and celebration with your teammates like? Like, there's a lot more information that you could be giving to help you that I think we limit by thinking we just, like, I need to get as many swings in here as possible. No, I as a recruiter need to see all components that led to the thing that you did and how then you celebrate, because I want to get my intangible information from that as well. What kind of teammate are you? Are you a big energy player? Are you a stoic, focused kid, right? There's different archetypes of players, and that's fine. But I want to know. So let those clips be a little bit longer.
I think what you're highlighting is, I think, a really key point for our listeners, especially those that are creating these in the moment right now, is that there's two sets of camps. It's one, do I spend the time or the resources to get my game film clipped? Because those are the things that you see in the things that you talked about.
Yep.
But there's also this other set of camp that I'm going to go into my club with my club coach by myself with my setter, if I'm an outsider or middle, and we're going to film just me in an incubated, skill-specific environment. To talk about like just pros and cons of that.
They're going to be mostly cons. I don't love ISO skill video. One, if your video angle is different than where I'm used to watching it, it's hard for me to reference how high you're playing relative to opponents, everything else.
There's a lot of variables that become question
A lot of
marks.
other variables, right? The net height.
Net height.
That's my number one thing.
Agreed.
When I get those.
Didn't even
usually
think about
some,
that.
Some
Did
saggy,
they lower it a
some
little
saggy
bit?
nets.
Believe like when we watch film, like that is like the number one thing. I'm looking at the coach when they
Yep.
like I'm looking at the
how
coach,
tall is
the
that
coach
coach?
relative to
Yep.
the net height. Like these are we're trying to get a gauge. Is there a basketball hoop anywhere there?
Yep.
And so like a little bit of a gauge on how high that net really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have seen video where it's like either this coach is 6'9" or this net is a lot lower than it
Not
should
saying
be.
anyone's trying to be disingenuous. Everyone's trying to, make sure where every athlete looks good in their video because they want to provide a good video. But I think that's a con.
Yeah. And to the note of seeing how things progress, if you're just doing a solo skill, attacking over a net into no defense and no block, I'm not learning as much, right? I can see arm speed. I can't see, what's your vision like, right? Do you have different shots available to you in game situations? There's a difference between I can hit this cutty to one when a double block is here in game versus there's nobody and I can just chop this ball to one.
Right.
So those are different and they hold different weights. So I would encourage everybody to send out game film, okay, and continue doing your privates and your lessons and keep getting better, but I don't necessarily need to see that.
Yeah.
And it probably won't move the needle for me from an evaluative standpoint.
I have a quick question. Is there any, especially when our kids are writing email to you, is there any like positional descriptions that are pros and cons for kids? Like if I'm an outside, should I say that I'm a 6 rotation outside? Or should I say that I'm a 5-1 setter? Or should I just say I'm a setter, I'm a pin? Should I say I'm a libero or should I say I'm just a DS?
I would always, from a libero perspective, I would always say I'm a libero. Most clubs cycle through, so you're a libero.
Yeah.
And if you said I'm a DS, I'm going to still treat you as a little bit like we call all our DS group. They're all bros. They're all the bros. Now, there can only be one, right? Highlander rules, but they're still bros. So from that, I don't think that matters as much. From a pin perspective, if you play 6 row, that's cool. But my eyes are going to tell me whether you can play 6 rows or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like that doesn't move the needle as much as a like physical attribute. Like
Sure.
I'm 6'4".
But in the content, I sometimes like to see if they're multi-positional though. So say, hey, I play.
That's fair.
I play middle and I also set, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's
if
fair.
there are other skill sets, or
That would be eye grabbing.
It would be eye grabbing, that's what I mean.
Middle and I set.
well, exactly
That's in the
specifically.
That's in the subject line.
Or like a 6-row middle.
Or a
you know what I mean? Now it's something a little different. Like, I'm intrigued.
I am intrigued.
or 6'2" setter that also swings. Like,
I'm
those
a setter hitter,
specific
or I'm a
things.
lefty 6-foot setter. Like
always
anything
put lefty.
like that. Anything like that might move the needle and might make me change a little bit more.
Because I get
But those generic
on
ones,
the
not as much.
on the club side, I'll get those emails from kids who are interested, not who would be new to the club. And they're saying, I'm a 6 rotation outside. It's like, I don't know. It sounds kind of needy,
Yeah,
It sounds
needy.
it sounds like if I don't think you're a 6 rotation outside, you're not going to be a fit here probably.
Right.
And now we're going to have to deal with you wanting to play 6 rows all year.
That's an expectation. That's not
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I want to be recruited as this would be like the parallel for maybe Neef.
Interesting. I don't know if I've ever thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I haven't put a ton of stock into that piece.
I don't know if you get that a lot though. Like,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like people definitely will write that, but I never see. I'm a 3-row outside. Nobody's out here marketing themselves that way. I can't pass at all.
What if it's don'tserveme.com? But I do think though, if we tie back to like our expectations and finding what's a fit and be authentic self, if playing 6 rotations is that important to you,
Yeah.
it should come up in your recruiting process at some point.
For
though.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So email great. We have this awesome video that is game film clipped. We have bombers, 10-foot line straight downs on the front end. We show all your skill set, no serving at all.
Unless you have a serve that is objectively better than most of your peers.
To differentiate
You know
yourself.
what I mean? But overall, unless that first serve clip is money and really fast or very impressive, I'm not watching the rest of them because we'll help you become a better server. I'm not as concerned. Unless it is a lethal weapon right away, it's probably not going to move the needle from a recruiting perspective.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into, those are the things you can do yourself. There are services and there are support systems that are out there that can help you with those things. And let's talk about them a little bit around a recruiting service and, what are the values of those and what are things to maybe look out for between services as well as just an assistant to drive some of the recruiting of your athlete or yourself.
Yeah. Say there's a lot of different online-based recruiting services.
Should we maybe separate and maybe talk about there's the club recruiting service, and then you have a third party. I'll just call them a third party recruiting service who's not your club, not your high school, not your parent. It's this additional third party.
Yeah. And I'd say that third party sometimes gets hired by clubs, like they'll commission an entire club and do everybody in that program. But those are either web-based or you have an actual point of contact, and it's more person-driven. There are some benefits to both in different situations. I think as far as getting all your information organized in one place, a thing like Sports Recruits is useful for that. Okay. You can house your videos. You can do all the things. I'm pretty sure you can send coaches emails through it. That's all fine. Now, I will say when I get a email from Sports Recruits, it probably carries a little less weight than if it's from your personal Gmail and I see those specific things that we just talked about. But that said, there is some benefit to those types of programs. Is it the web-based platforms, is it something that you could do on your own? Absolutely. Okay. Through having a YouTube channel, just a generic Huddle account that just has your base information. If you're going to do YouTube, as long as your videos or your bio page have your contact info, who I should be reaching out to from a recruiting perspective, that's fine, right? That's the information that I get from Sports Recruits that is value. Everything else is just video link and your little paragraph testimony, okay? So there can be some benefit to that. Now, if you are an elite top 100 recruit in the country, you don't need one of these services. You're going to get recruited, right? Put your video out, send it to who you need to, cast your smaller net because you're really good, and then go to wherever you're going to go.
And then your net grows exponentially.
Yeah, and then it gets way bigger. Post one clip on YouTube of you being 14 and bouncing a ball on 8 feet, and then suddenly your recruiting will blow up, I'm sure. If you're going to do hire a person that runs a recruiting service, that I think could be more beneficial for those lower level kids, right? Lower in quotes, right? For the non-high D1 kids, because they have the benefit of personal relationships, experience, background. They probably know coaches that run a system similar to what you're looking for, know schools that offer the certain puzzle pieces that you're looking for, and can guide you a little bit more educated through that whole process, because this recruiting process can be scary as a first time. So I think there can be value, but if you have one of those, you need to lean on them, right? What tends to happen or can happen is, okay, my club hires X guy, and he's going to run all our recruiting. And then he gives you some tips, but I want to play college, and I just go do my thing without really talking to him. Well, he probably could have given you some insight ahead of time to be like, hey, maybe when you get there to this camp or situation, look for this, don't look for this, ignore if they say this, look for this type of thing. You know what I mean? Just get you going down the right path to get the right information you need. Because what all of us don't want is for you to get super hyped about school A and then stop doing whatever you're doing and put all the eggs in school A basket, and then school A never offers. I think in those situations, a person like that, or a recruiting coordinator, or whoever in the club, they can be a useful resource to kind of help you not eliminate options before you need to.
I think the point of the relationships, I think, is gigantic, because I think, especially in our business, it is a lot of eye tests. It's a lot of just trusting your peers and trusting your peers' assessment, especially peers that have seen these kids more than you have seen them, especially early on, right?
Yep.
Especially early on. And even more so, to your point, as you get down the progression of levels, because truth be told, those lists are gigantic.
Right.
The lists become longer because there's more no's, because there's more schools that you're competing with, because there's everyone above you.
And there's more kids that can help you.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like at the Power 4 level, there's only X number of athletes that are going to move the needle. Well, at mid-major, there is a ton. So those lists are massive.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out those like very specific things that either align you to our culture or make you the fit for the school. Like we need those specific informations, and that's where these people can be useful.
Right. And I think asking before, especially if it's not associated with the club, if it's someone that you're hiring on your own, is those are the questions to ask them. What kind of relationships have you built? Especially locally, if you have a relationship with those coaches, hey, talk to me about XYZ recruiting coordinator.
Yep.
Do you have a good relationship? Do you trust their opinion? Do they have a good backstory or history? I'm sorry. So I think those are all good, really questions to ask. What are you seeing from your athletes that are going through, multiple services or assistants or whatnot?
Yeah, I think every club needs to have a plan for the range of potential prospects that we're gonna have, and I think every club's different. I think every club has to know what their strengths are, what they do internally really well, and if they have someone that's in the club that can handle recruiting, or they have a background in that, or they're a former college coach that is passionate about that, then that's something you want to try and leverage within your own staff. But I think if you do go outside, if you go more web-based, or you go with an actual person who runs a recurring service, do they align with what you want to do as a club?
Yep.
And then 2, is it player-driven within their own service? Because that's what we believe as a club is important as they build relationships with college coaches. And so if someone that you bring on is almost an extension of your staff, that's a pretty good situation probably. And they can handle the kid that's going to have to be prepared for June 15th as much as they can handle the kid that's going to have to play probably Division II, Division III, or JUCO, or maybe even help that kid navigate, like, do I want to play volleyball still? Do I want to just play club volleyball at a school? There's so many wide, range of situations. And I think if you're a club, figure out just what you're going to be really good at in-house. And if you bring someone on, it should be almost like you're hiring another coach. It should be they're an extension of you. They're part of the staff. And I think if you go more web-based, like what are your goals with that for your kids?
Yeah.
And I think you see a lot of really good discovery items on there. I think the Sports Recruits and some other companies do a great job of having needs lists and school lists and majors that are attached to those schools. I think that discovery stuff is you can probably do it in a Google search, but them making it easy to navigate within their own domain is good. That's good stuff. But
That's good to know because I am never on that side of the interface. I didn't know like what else they provide from an athlete perspective.
yeah, last time
cool.
I was on Sports Recruits, I'm sure it's even gotten more sophisticated. This is from a couple of years ago. They had like, a map of the whole nation, all the schools where they were at. You can click the school, what majors they offered, how big the school was and stuff. But can you do that without Sports Recruits? You can probably figure that
totally.
out. It's a lot more work, but
Yeah. It's more work.
it is, yeah.
It is more work.
But I think someone that you bring in, so we bring in someone who we feel like isn't our coach in the club, who's in the gym with us at practices, goes to our tournaments. Like we find that valuable for our club, but that's not how every club does it because every club's got different strengths. They're club directors. Some club directors at different clubs might have a recruiting background, so they're going to be the ones that do it. So it's not one size fits all. But that would be my suggestion for anyone. Club directors or club leadership, if you're trying to figure out how to navigate or support your kids in the recruiting process, just figure out what you want to be really good at, where you want to devote your time at, and then, how can another service support it?
Yeah, I think it's all about starting with the fundamentals that we talked about earlier, right? Starting with your fundamentals, starting with your crafting a good email, start about understanding and learning about yourself and what you want in the process. And then as you go through the journey, then you supplement, right? Whether that's supplementing with a trusted advisor who you think can help you with recruiting, or is with a third-party vendor or service that is there. I think you continue to add and you see what works, right? Just because you start with one thing doesn't mean you have to end with the other one, with that same thing too. So I think it's just, you get to the point to eventually you're making a decision. And I think that's where we'll kind of wrap this up around, all right, this is a yay or a nay. And just for all the athletes and the families out there, a nay is never what a coach program wants to hear, but an early nay is not a bad thing either. It just allows people to move on because, again, everyone is competing for a limited amount of spots, specifically at the high D1. And then also it opens you up for other things moving down the list, right? And other schools that are trying to, recruit your services. So the yay and the nay, the actual decision point. So what are some of the things that you want to highlight really on that decision point, Mark?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of outside influence right now that are trying to push you to make a decision, maybe that we're unaware of. But I mentioned the social pressures from social media of seeing your peers and teammates. I think the community around volleyball has grown so much. Like when you go to a club tournament, it's no longer like I know my team and nobody else. It's I follow this girl on TikTok and I know her, and so it's all this really ingratiating community.
That is so real.
And so it would be naive to think that that's not influencing people's decision-making process, or at least the timeline of it. So that's something to be aware of. And if you can distance yourself from it, you try, but it's going to be hard.
We've had so many instances this year where our girls like, oh, that girl's TikTok famous.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Cool.
It is such a different environment than when we were in.
For sure.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
I think the flip side of those kids are this process is so overwhelming. I just want it to be over. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's such a big stressor. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I'll make my decision. You need a confidant, a sounding board, one person that you trust more than everybody else to be like, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Let's just think about narrowing or whatever it is. But allow them, let them keep the path and vent and get through their overwhelmed state to still make a decision. Because what we don't want is making rushed, forced decisions without getting the information they need. Okay. Another one that I think is really hard in this current format, this June 15th format, is how do I get enough information prior to making my decision, right? If you're one of those top kids that are going to be making decisions around June 15th, how do I get enough information to feel good about that? Most colleges are doing camps prior to June 15th for those types of kids to get on campus, see a little bit, play with the coaches, like that's probably your best bet. You can like hands-on experience on campus. That's the best way to go about it, is to find a pre-June 15th camp. And then for those maybe 2 or 3 schools that you've deemed, this is where the direction I want to be at. Prior to that, it's social media. Schools are not naive to think that you aren't on the social media looking for things that are geared towards recruiting, because literally our entire social media from February to June is all recruiting based things. You know what I mean? It's all here, learn about the program, see our players. This is what it's like to be here. You know what I mean? So lean on social media. If they have a broadcast channel through Instagram, sign up for that, because there's some behind the scenes stuff that you can get to see, just any avenues of different contacts, information, whatever. You can also reach out to players on their team. You can DM them. If you're the one that instigates that first conversation, totally fine. But if you want to get an insight, be like, hey, I'm kind of curious about this, slide them a DM. Maybe they respond, maybe they don't. But another way that you can get some more information. The other thing is using those resources in Sports Recruits or just online, like sit down and knock out some research, like put a couple hours into what's the environment like, read some testimonies. There's a lot of stuff you can find online. Former student athlete testimonies, former students, period. Just look for trying to build those puzzle pieces, right? And as close as you can get to knowing what that puzzle looks like, the easier it's going to be to make that decision. But you're going to have to, even those top kids are going to have to be proactive, sifting through the 15 elite programs or whatever. Like, what are the things that matter to you?
It's a different problem.
These? Yeah, it's a slightly different problem. I think the biggest takeaway and lesson from all of this for me is the recruiting process is unlike anything else, any other human experience in the rest of your life. Like no other time are these many people going to be vying for your attention, wanting to garner your services, get you to the school. Like, it's fun and it's unique, and it will never happen again. So enjoy it as much as you can. Like, I know it's intense, but you get to visit schools with your parents and take these trips, and coaches roll out the red carpet for you, and all these really, really cool things that just don't happen. And you worked your butt off to get to a point where you get this cool experience. Enjoy it, right? Live this and take it all in, absorb what you can, and then make your decision based on good information that you get. But this is unlike anything else, so love it.
That's cool. That's great. My only thing is, like, we talked a lot today about evaluating players and college coaches watching players. I think if players can go watch more matches, go watch coaches coach, go watch players play, do you see yourself playing with those girls? Do you see yourself touching that high? Do you approach like that girl? Do you sit like that girl? Do you communicate like that girl that you want to go play in that program with one day, or a program like that? I think the more parents and coaches can get their kids in those environments, the more I think players can get used to what's coming.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? And again, in the entire recruiting process, there's no one stop shop. There's no one size fits all. And I think just find what works for you. Trust your resources. Trust the people in your circle. And when you don't know, ask.
Yep.
I think that is huge, because things continue to change. And if they continue to change, make sure you keep tuning in to Triple Blockheads, and we'll be right here talking about what those changes are.
Clip it.
So thanks again for watching another episode of Triple Blockheads. Continue to watch our clips. We keep dropping them almost every single day and on the socials. We love hearing your feedback. Until next time, Blockheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Triple Blockheads. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode.